Everyone in the room went quiet. When Mr. Jennings said, "A man who works night shifts and brings his daughter to school in pajamas is not fit to raise a gifted child." They said it like she wasn't even in the hallway. Like she couldn't hear every word. But she heard. She always did. Her name was Ava Jennings. Age, 9. She loved astronomy, drawing cats, and memorizing facts most adults didn't understand. She also loved her dad. Even when he was exhausted. Even when his uniform smelled like cleaning chemicals. Even when he forgot picture day, and showed up late with her hair undone and a lunch of cold toast wrapped in a napkin. Her dad's name was Marcus. He used to work construction. But after Ava's mom passed away from an undiagnosed heart condition when Ava was just 2, he gave it all up. Became the night janitor at the local hospital. Because it paid enough to cover daycare. And later, enough to be there for pickups and drop-offs. It wasn't glamorous. But it was love. And love was something Marcus gave Ava in every form he could. Still, people whispered. "Where's her mother? Why is she always so quiet? Why does her lunch look like that?" Even Ava's third-grade teacher, Mrs. Connolly, smiled at her like she pitied her. "You're doing your best, sweetheart," she'd say. "Even if your home life is a bit unpredictable." But what Mrs. Connolly didn't know was that Ava had been reading on a 7th grade level since last year. That she solved complex logic puzzles for fun. And that she'd been quietly sitting in the back of the class, holding her tongue, because every time she raised her hand too much, the other kids started calling her names. Smarty pants. Know-it-all. Teacher's pet. So she stopped showing them what she could do. But at home, she was unstoppable. Each night after her dad returned from work, tired and sore, he'd sit beside her. Read her astronomy books. Helped her practice equations he barely understood. And told her, "They don't have to see it, baby. You just make sure you see it. That's your superpower." But it all came to a head the day Ava's school announced a statewide gifted placement exam. Ava came home beaming. "They said it's optional, but I want to do it, Dad." Marcus smiled, nodded. "Then you're doing it. I'll make sure of it." But that was the day everything changed. The next morning, Mrs. Connolly pulled Marcus aside during drop-off. "Mr. Jennings, I'd really recommend Ava skip the gifted exam. It can be discouraging." "She wants to try," Marcus said. "Of course she does. But, frankly, it takes a lot of support at home. Structure. Educational background. I mean, the parents of our top performers, well, they're a bit more equipped." That word. Equipped. It rattled in Marcus's mind for days. Still, he stayed silent. Let Ava register. Let her study. Kept his cool. Until one day, after school, Ava came out crying. She'd overheard Mr. Jennings, the assistant principal, telling Mrs. Connolly, "She's a sweet girl. But look at her records. No extracurriculars. No private tutoring. Single father. Night worker. It's not realistic. It's borderline neglect." Ava heard it all. And Marcus? He broke. "You don't get to call my daughter neglected because I clean floors while you wear a tie. You don't know what it takes to raise a child who loses her mother at 2. You don't know what it's like to feed her with coupons, and still make her feel like a queen. You don't know anything about her. And you don't get to decide who she becomes." They told him to calm down. Threatened to escalate. So he left. But Ava didn't. She stayed. She took the test. Scored the highest in the school. Not just the class. The school. The same unfit child they said wouldn't make it? She shut everyone up. Top gifted performance. Ava Jennings. The room clapped. Ava walked up slowly. She didn't smile. Didn't shake his hand. Just turned to the microphone. "This is for my dad. He taught me how to learn even when no one was watching. He stayed up with me. He never let me forget who I am. You didn't see it, but he did." In that moment, they all saw it. The teacher, the principal, the parents, even the kids who once called her names. They saw a girl who came from nothing, but carried herself like everything. Because her father refused to let the world define her by circumstance. But just when Marcus thought things were finally turning around, just when he received a letter from the district board apologizing for how he was treated, something else showed up at their doorstep. His job. A complaint had been filed about aggressive behavior at a school event. They underestimated his daughter. But now they're trying to take him down next. He didn't open it right away. The envelope felt heavier than it looked. Like it carried more than just paper. It carried consequences. And Marcus? He'd carried enough of those already. The complaint. Filed anonymously. Claiming verbal aggression and intimidation at a public school event. It was from the night of Ava's award. The same night he finally stood up and defended his daughter. "You don't get to label her just because she doesn't come in a Mercedes." That's what he'd said. That was the aggression. Not a threat. Not a raised voice. Just a father tired of being told he wasn't enough. The letter was from HR. Requesting an internal hearing. Stating that Marcus would be placed on administrative review until the matter was resolved. Translation? No pay. No shifts. No answers. Back inside the house, Ava was coloring planets on the kitchen floor. Her face still glowing from the award. "You okay, Dad?" He looked at her. Swallowed the truth. "Yeah, baby. Just a work thing. Nothing for you to worry about." But she always worried. She could sense every change in him. Every pause in his voice. Every crack in his smile. Every time he counted cash quietly at night with the fridge open to hide the sound. He didn't tell her. He just called his supervisor. Left a message. Waited. No response. Called again the next day. Still nothing. By day 4, rent was coming. Groceries running low. And he still hadn't been called in. So he went down to the hospital himself. Wore his pressed blue janitor shirt. Brought his ID badge. His humility. His fear. Only to be told at the front desk. "You're not cleared to work. You'll have to speak with HR. We received a concern from the school board. Something about inappropriate behavior." "I defended my child," Marcus said. "Sir, we're not making judgments. We're investigating. So until then, I'm just suspended?" She nodded. No eye contact. No apology. Policy. Back at home, Ava noticed. Her dad was there every morning. Every afternoon. And his eyes had that tired glaze again, the one he wore back when he worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. On day 6, she found him in the kitchen, sitting in the dark, holding his phone. "Dad?" "Yeah? Did you lose your job?" He didn't lie. Not officially. "But it's complicated." She crawled into his lap. "Because you spoke up for me?" He nodded. Sometimes doing the right thing costs more than it should. The next day, she didn't go to school. She said her stomach hurt. But the truth? She didn't want to see Mrs. Connolly. Didn't want to face the whispers. She wasn't just the smart girl now. She was the janitor's kid who made too much noise. By day 8, something snapped in Marcus. He was done waiting. Done being quiet. He opened his laptop and wrote an email. To every parent, every teacher, every administrator he could find. He didn't curse. He didn't lash out. He just told the truth. My daughter got the highest score in your school. I defended her when your staff said I wasn't fit to raise her. And now I'm being punished, not for doing wrong, but for speaking truth. If that's what your system rewards, then maybe it's not just me you should be investigating. He signed it with his full name, his phone number, and a link to the state's public school equity reporting system. It was risky. It was bold. It was all he had left. Then, something happened. The email was shared. First among a few parents. Then on a local Facebook group. Then a teacher, not Mrs. Connolly, quietly replied. Your daughter is extraordinary. I'm sorry it took this long for people to see it. Another one followed. You're not alone, Marcus. Let us know how we can help. Within 24 hours. He got a call. Not from his hospital supervisor. Not from HR. But from a reporter. We saw your email. Would you be willing to talk on record? Marcus paused. Why now? Because people are listening. He wasn't ready for the attention. He never wanted to be the center of a controversy. He just wanted his job. And his daughter to be left alone. But maybe this wasn't just about him anymore. Maybe it never was. Marcus stands outside the school gate with Ava. A few other parents nod at him. Someone whispers, that's the dad from the article. And then the school principal walks up. Mr. Jennings, we need to talk. Marcus looks at him, calm. Steady. About what? The principal hesitates. About the disciplinary meeting we're holding. For one of our staff members. This time, they weren't whispering about Ava. They were whispering about him. The janitor. The father. The man who made too much noise. Only now. People were listening. The school board had seen the email. Local media picked it up. Parents shared it. An old video clip of Ava's speech went viral on TikTok. This is for my dad. He sees me. The internet? It saw her too. But the school? It panicked. Mr. Jennings, the rep says, we'd like to clarify the timeline of events. Marcus sits down, composed. You mean the moment I defended my daughter, or the moment your staff labeled her home life as a disadvantage? We're not here to debate perceptions. Good, Marcus cuts in. Because perception is what got me here in the first place. They ask him about the day of the award ceremony. About what he said. About who he threatened. He answers calmly. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't point fingers. Just told the truth, again. The rep closes her tablet. We'll be reviewing Mrs. Connolly's conduct separately. That's when Marcus feels it. Something shifted. This isn't just about one complaint anymore. It's about a pattern. Flashback, teachers talking in the staff room. One says, these kids need structure. Their parents can't give it to them. They never said names. Never put it in writing. But the bias? It was in every lowered expectation. Every skipped recommendation. Every time Ava was told to stay quiet when she had the right answer. Back home, Ava watches her video trending on her cousin's phone. Her face is stunned. Dad, why are people watching me? Because you told the truth, baby. But, doesn't that make them mad? He kneels beside her. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it makes them change. The next day, Marcus gets a call. Not from HR. From a woman named Ms. Patel, a board member who quietly supported equitable education programs. I want to talk to you about the school's bias training, or lack of it. I'm just a janitor, Marcus says. You're not just anything. And I think you might be exactly who we need in the next meeting. He agrees to meet. Not to fight. But to build something better. Because now? It's bigger than Ava. But just as things start to turn. Claire, a teacher who secretly supported Ava from the beginning, pulls Marcus aside. She's been silent. Watching. Listening. You need to be careful, she says quietly. Why? Because there's something happening behind closed doors. I heard the word custody being thrown around. Marcus goes still. Custody? The district is looking into Ava's domestic stability as part of the broader investigation. That complaint? It might not just cost her job, it could come for her too. The floor drops beneath him. He goes cold. He can't lose his daughter. Not now. Not ever. Who filed it, he asks. Claire hesitates. It wasn't the school. It came from someone else. A name I wasn't supposed to see. Who? Mrs. Connolly's sister. It wasn't just bias anymore. It was a plan. A quiet, calculated attempt to prove that Ava didn't belong in their world. By taking her out of it entirely. Marcus rushes home. Holds Ava tighter than ever. You're safe, he tells her. I'll never let them take you. But inside, he knows. They won't stop. Not until they're forced to. He opens his laptop. And starts typing a second letter. Not to the school. Not to HR. Not even to the media. This time, it's to Child Protective Services, preemptively. He's not waiting for a knock on the door. He's going to face them first. But just as he hits save, his phone buzzes. An unknown number. He picks it up. Is this Mr. Jennings? Yes. We're calling in regard to a pending custody concern. We need to conduct an emergency welfare visit, tonight. Two strangers stand on the porch. One holds a clipboard. The other, a badge. Mr. Jennings? We're from Child Welfare Services. We received a concern and need to conduct a welfare check. Marcus doesn't flinch. He steps aside. Ava's asleep. You can look around. But I'm telling you now, this is a scare tactic. They walk in. Start their checklist. Fridge stocked. No hazards. Homework on the kitchen table. A sleepy child in cozy pajamas hugging a stuffed giraffe. They leave 30 minutes later. She's fine. She's more than fine, the younger one says. We'll file this as non-actionable. But the older agent warns. If someone pushes hard enough, they could try again. The next day, Marcus makes another call. This time? To a lawyer. Not a free one. A real one. He cashes out his savings, what little was left. Because protecting Ava was more important than anything else. Meanwhile, Ava stays quiet. But something inside her has changed. She sees how tired her dad looks. She hears the phone calls he takes in the hallway. She watches him reread that letter from HR again and again. So she does something brave. At school, Ava asks her new science teacher if she can speak at the school board meeting. The teacher says yes, cautiously. It might be intense. Are you sure? I'm sure. Because Ava knows. Her dad stood up for her. Now it's her turn. She's 9. Tiny in her hoodie and sneakers. But her voice? It carries. Some of you think my dad isn't good enough. That because he works at night and makes me toast for lunch and sometimes forgets permission slips, that he's not doing a good job. But I got the highest score in this school. And I'm not smart because of what we don't have. I'm smart because my dad never gave up on me. She pauses. The room is silent. He taught me to believe in myself, even when my teachers didn't. He works so I can dream. And he never lets me feel small, even when people try to make us feel that way. Then she looks at the principal. At Mrs. Connolly. You said I needed structure. Well, my dad is the strongest structure I've ever had. The room erupts. A standing ovation. Parents are in tears. Teachers who once stayed silent clap with their whole hearts. And the board? They're shaken. The next day, Marcus is reinstated. The complaint is dismissed. And quietly, a formal review is launched into the practices of the school staff involved. Mrs. Connolly takes a leave of absence. The assistant principal resigns. And Ava? She's invited to join the district's advanced STEM program, with a scholarship. 1 week later, Marcus gets another letter. But this one's different. It's not a threat. Not a warning. It's an offer. Mr. Jennings, due to your advocacy, we'd like to invite you to join the district's Equity and Inclusion Parent Committee. Your voice matters, and it's time people started hearing it. He smiles. Folds the letter. Picks up Ava's drawing off the fridge. It's a picture of them in superhero capes. He places the letter underneath it. They called him unfit. Said he was too loud. Too poor. Too different. But he wasn't unfit. He was unshakable. Because he wasn't just raising a child. He was raising a revolution. Sometimes heroes don't wear suits. Sometimes, they mop floors, hold lunchboxes, and carry the world for the one person who calls them dad. Subscribe for more emotional true-to-life stories told anonymously. Because the stories we survive shape the ones we become.